Joining us now for 5 insightful minutes is Omni Talk friend and CEO and founder of Tomorrow, Jordan Burke. Jordan, it's almost Singles Day in China. A few years ago, this was all the rage. Seems like it's died off a little bit recently. Is this something that U.S. retailers still need to pay attention to?
Chris, actually now more than ever, we believe, because what happens in China on Singles Day is going to appear on the front ends of TEMU, SHEIN, and the other cross-border players that are disrupting the Western markets like the US. So if you think about learning about what's happening on cross-border, pay attention to how Pinduoduo that owns TEMU, JD, the biggest cross-border seller on Walmart, TikTok, how they're generating demand in China is what they're going to be applying in their US businesses and Western businesses in the next 6 to 12 months.
Well, and Jordan, I think that's an important thing for the U.S. retailers to be listening to. Can you explain just how much share some of those cross-border players like TEMU and SHEIN have with today's U.S. consumer?
Yeah, so TEMU's the fastest growing e-commerce business in the U.S. history, Anne. It's now the fifth most visited e-com app in the country, surpassed Target in 8 months. Over the last 12 months,
oh my God,
more Americans have downloaded TEMU than the Amazon app, Walmart, Target, Starbucks, McDonald's, Nike, Apple, Home Depot combined. 60 million Americans browse and shop on TEMU every month. And what we're seeing from a cohort perspective that's interesting, Anne, is it's typically lower income, middle-aged females that are the first adopters.
Wow, that surprises me.
Yeah, they win with that consumer first, and then they move up market as they mature in a country like the US.
That is unbelievable. All right, Jordan. Well, TEMU and SHEIN aren't the first cross-border players by any stretch of the imagination. We've had Wish before, AliExpress, and even others before that, most likely. What makes them, TEMU and SHEIN, so much more compelling?
Yeah, Chris, you and Ann know more has changed in the last 8 years of retail than probably the last 80. And so this generation of cross-border players in our research appears to be much more durable. They've got staying power for 3 reasons. The first is that they source direct from factories. All of the previous cross-border platforms work with distributors and trading companies. TEMU, SHEIN go direct from factory. That's a 15 to 50% cost of goods advantage that they bring.
Right.
Second, they bring what we call ninja level promo capabilities. They are the world's best, Chris, at generating demand by looking at every pixel of the app and making sure it's exciting, using crazy fun promo mechanisms, and constantly optimizing in day rather than in week or 2 weeks, like often retailers. The biggest thing we think on the third point is that they are subsidized by profitable parents.
Right.
Pinduoduo that owns TEMU, SHEIN are now profitable, so they can subsidize scale in markets like the US in a way that's really disruptive and allows them to get to that maturity pretty quickly. There's one more I want to throw out there, which I think people discount, which is if you look at the Pinduoduo playbook from China, it also started with lower income, less educated users, but the moment it reached scale, it brought brands like Chanel, Nike, and Apple onto the platform and ultimately moved up market to attack JD and Tmall. We see that same trend playing out in the West once they get mature.
Jordan, are there retailers in the US who have been successful in defending against TEMU and SHEIN? And if so, where should US retailers listening be looking for inspiration or to try to get a hold on what to expect from these retailers, these cross-border retailers?
And globally and in the US, we're still in the early stages of the response.
Okay.
So Amazon is betting on its same day experience as being its strategic moat versus TEMU, right? You guys have talked at length about it. Yeah. They're also working, we understand from inside sources, they're working on a lower price point version of Amazon where for certain users, they'll be surfacing those sort of discount treasure hunt items that TEMU is famous for. Omni-channel retailers, on the other hand, are trying to combine 3 capabilities to fight back. The first is loyalty and creating a more sticky experience with the brand. The second is physical stores in the vicinity of customers, creating convenience and different experiential elements that can give customers something that the cross-border players can't. And then third is getting ninja. You're seeing across the retail world, retailers adopting this demand generation skill set that is, like I said, much more about in the moment, TikTok generation promo, really looking at how do I create stimulation throughout the day to be able to engage like they are.
Yeah, that's kind of scary, Jordan. I mean, retailers were slow on front-end development for the past 20 years, the traditional legacy bricks and mortar retailers. And then when I think about the product categories too, in terms of, what do you need quickly versus what do you not, and the fact that you're direct from factory and you get the cost breaks on that, it's a pretty scary proposition in a lot of ways. So let's get you out of here on this. What should our audience, which is, a ton of retail executives, particularly here in the United States, but also abroad, what should they be on the lookout for as we head into the next couple of years around this dynamic?
Yeah, Chris, I think the number one question we get from omnichannel retailers is help me understand at a molecular level, TEMU, SHEIN, and the cross-border insurgency. So I think what you're going to see is retailers really putting the time in to understand why these players are different, why their customer is responding, and how their proposition can stack up relative. We're estimating that these players could reach up to 50 billion in US dollar sales in the US market within 3 years.
Wow.
So that's a giant sucking sound that retailers are realizing. They've got to figure out how to counterattack. And so I think you're going to find a lot of retailers figuring out, okay, I see how I can compete on value. I see how I can compete on experience. I see how I can create excitement with my user, because we see that as a trend that's not turning around. We think users are going to want that daily dopamine hit that TEMU is so effective at creating. And so I think you're going to see a shift towards adopting some of these practices, but fitting it into your value prop in a thoughtful way, not being TEMU, being you, but just winning in a way that you can uniquely win.
Thanks, Jordan.
Great stuff, Jordan. Great stuff.